This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to the Paracave Podcast, another review round episode podcast with the Duckman on Pulse FM 89.9 FM. Now, this was recorded last night, Sunday night, as this is Monday, obviously, and I'm recording it today. So it was recorded last night on the radio at about 7:05 p.m, which you can find me with the Duckman on the Pulse FM 89.9 FM every Friday and Sunday at about 7:05. So on the Friday we preview the round, and on the Sunday we review the round. So this was from a location. I was on the way home from the Eels versus Dragons game on the train and in the car on the way home. So I'm a little bit on the radio, so I'm on the phone, so my sound quality is probably not the best there, but it is still listenable, that's for sure. So this Friday night, I will probably be coming to you live from the Gabba with the Broncos taking on the Eels up there, and I'll be travelling up there. So it may be a shortened chat on Friday night, but nevertheless, I'll be live from the Gabba, so stay tuned for that one on Friday night. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this episode, and as I said, the two fans talking about the NRL Round 23, some great games there, and thankfully my Eels got up 26-20 over the Dragons, so I was a bit relieved during this chat, especially after the Eels got the win, a must-win against the Dragons. So enjoy this chat, and thank you very much for listening.
All right, welcome back to the Weekend Sports Wrap. You're here with the Duckman, 6 minutes past 7, and we've got Troy Warner with us live from a train on his way home from the Eels game against the Dragons today. Troy, how are you going?
I'm feeling a bit relieved at the moment with that win over the George Illawarra Dragons, 26-20. So, yeah, just feeling a little bit relieved at the moment.
Yeah, so you must be happy that you ended up getting the win, because the Dragons were up there for a little while too, weren't they, in the game?
Yeah, look, 2 points is 2 points, and I think the Dragons were winning at a half-time, and it wasn't looking too good for the Eels, but they came back in the second half and got the win. So very lucky to get the win, and in this crucial race for the top 8, which they're racing for. I think they sneak into the top 8 at the moment, just with that win today.
Yeah, there you go. I'll have to have a look at that. I haven't looked at the table at the moment. So we'll bounce on to the other games at the moment we had. So back on Thursday night, the Roosters got up over the Sea Eagles there, 26 points to 16. So a little bit of stuff's come out. This game has got the Roosters in a spot above with judiciary and stuff like that too. So they'll be happy too that they got on the back end of that. They did announce they got Justin Holbrook as well on as coach on board for next season too.
Yeah, so Justin is signed on for a assistant coach role for the next 3 years, I think it is, and that's a big boost for the Roosters. I think there's a little bit of talk about Cooper Cronk not being assistant coach next year, so a big get for the Roosters. Look, the Roosters' finals hopes are just hanging in there, every win for them is crucial at the moment, and that win on Thursday night will do their chances pretty good. The Manly Sea Eagles, they had every opportunity to win that game, and they'll be ruining that decision that they didn't win the game, because that would have done their finals hopes pretty good.
Yeah, so if we're going to have problems now, Manly, they're outside the 8. It's pretty log-jammed at the moment too, so similar to AFL. There's quite a few sides could drop out, I reckon, from Canberra down 6, 7, 8, and probably you're looking at we'll have a look at the table after this. We'll bounce through to other games and we'll go through what we think might or might not happen next couple of weeks. Titans took on the Warriors back on Friday night, and I thought the Titans had a lot to play for. They were still a slim chance of being able to make the finals. Now they lost this game, their season is effectively done, and the Warriors, they roll on. They're in good form and they look really good at the moment for 28-18 win on Friday.
Yeah, the Warriors roll on. That was a crucial win for them. They still stay in the hunt for the top 8. The top 4. And it's very crucial for them to make the top 4, because who would want to play them in New Zealand in a semi-final game? Absolutely nobody, because it'd be a tough ask. And so they got the win. The Titans, they just sort of hang in there, but it's going to be very hard for them to make the top 8. And look, it was a great game, but the Warriors got on top and they stay in that top 4 position.
Yeah, so they'll be happy about that, because they've pretty much solidified themselves now. They are guaranteed. I think they're in third at the moment too. Penrith, Brisbane, then the Warriors, and then Melbourne Storm, from what I remember. I haven't had a look at the moment. Panthers, they took on the Storm. They were up 20 points to 6 at halftime. They got the win there, 26-6. And it just went through the motions, did what they needed to do against a good side. And that's all you got to do. Just get the business done. Penrith are very hard to chase down if they get a lead.
Yeah, the Panthers, they just keep on rolling on with their win. They lead to the top 4, and they lead to the top 4. They keep on rolling on, and it looks like they're going to go for their, I think, 3rd premiership in a row.
Yeah, 3rd premiership. Fourth minor premiership in a row. Third or 4th minor premiership in a row. So, yeah, and big chance of probably going for the treble. So, for the first time since the Eels back in 81, 82, 83, which will be massive.
Yeah, first time in 40 years' time. So, it's always a massive achievement to win the premiership, but to do it 3 times in a row is a massive feat. So, yeah, first time in 40 years if the Panthers can get it done.
Yeah, and I think it'll be the first time since the NRL salary cap has been fully in place like it's been is now, that someone's done that too. So there haven't even been many back-to-backs. There's only been a handful of back-to-backs since that time too. Started off with Canberra did it, Broncos did it. Who else got back-to-back? Did the Roosters do it in the
18-19?
Yeah.
18-19, the Roosters did it.
Yeah, Melbourne Storm's done it.
Yeah, so there's only been a few teams that have done it. So to do 3-peat is massive.
Yeah, but something very different. So because the salary cap is there to equalise the field, and if someone gets too good, basically they're going to need to distribute players. I still reckon, we'll talk about this afterwards as well, I still think Jerome Luai, I don't think he's a shoo-in that he's going to stay with Penrith next year at the moment. That's why there's a lot of talk about this at the moment, a lot of conjecture. The Cowboys, so this is another team. They had everything to play for too. They took on the Broncos up in North Queensland, Countrybet Stadium, yesterday, and went down 30 points to 14. So they'll be disappointed they didn't get the win. Broncos will be very happy because it keeps them in the running for the minor premiership at the moment, and they look really good at the moment this season.
Yeah, well, this is the win for the Broncos without Adam Reynolds, so a very important win for them. The Cowboys, they'll be ruining the decision that they didn't get this win, and especially at home. I think they find themselves just in 8th position, only hanging on at the moment. So that was a crucial game for them. They would have hoped to have won that game, but especially with Adam Reynolds out. But the Broncos, they got the game done, and they got the win, and they take on Parramatta next week at the Gabba, and who knows whether Adam Reynolds will play next week.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see now what's going to happen there for the Broncos. So they might rest him. You don't need to burn him either at the moment because the top three or I would say they're safe in the finals now. There's no way they're not going to make it. And because the back end's so log jam, they're probably going to make the top four as well, the top three. We'll go on to the next game here. So this was a scare and a bit, not a surprise, but it went right down to the wire. The Dolphins hosted the Knights. We predicted that the Knights would win, but they only got up 30-28, and I thought the Dolphins might actually run them over there and get the win.
Yeah, well, the Dolphins, they started off really well. Jermaine Asako, I think he scored a double in the first half, and you thought maybe the Dolphins would get the win there. They played really well over there at Optus Stadium in Perth, but the Newcastle Knights, they came back and they showed that, you know, they're finals bound maybe, and they got the win. So probably a crucial loss for the Dolphins, but a crucial win for the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Knights got themselves into about 6th or 7th here at the moment. So they look like they're on the rise, where a couple of other sides look like they're on the slide. This next game, this is going to have a big bearing. I think this is going to change things up in the top 8 in the next couple of weeks now. The Rabbitohs took on the Sharks. We expected the Rabbitohs would win, and the Sharks got up. They showed some resolve they haven't shown for a while. 26 points to 16 winners. Latrell Mitchell was back, and he looked pretty flat too, I think.
Yeah, this was a really interesting game. As we predicted, I thought the Sharks would lose this game, but they really stood up and they got off to a lead in the first half, and they carried that on into the second half. And the Rabbitohs, they just didn't have any answers. You thought watching it, maybe the Rabbitohs had come back in the second half. They scored a few late tries in that second half, and you thought maybe they might jag the win, but the Sharks held on and they hold their slight, slim chances of the top 8 finals chances in hold. So well done to the Sharks in Wade Graham's, I think, 250th game.
Yeah, that's right. The next game for Eels against the Dragons, as you said before, the Eels were down at half time. They actually looked like they were going to bomb the game, which would have buried their season, I think, if they had lost this game. But they ended up coming good and got up 26 points to 20 winners. So how good were they, and were Parramatta good, or did they switch off for a while, or were the Dragons very good today?
Oh, I think the Dragons switched on for a bit. The Eels, they were struggling a little bit. They had a few new players in their side. Arthur Miller-Stevens scored a try on debut, and it was all going well for the Eels. They scored the first couple of tries, but then the Dragons came back, and the Dragons led at half time, and Parramatta fans thought, what's going on here? You know, this is a team that we should beat, and beat convincingly, but it was 20-all at one stage, but Parramatta ended up getting the win, and Bryce Cartwright, I think in his 50th game for the Eels, scored a couple of tries, and Parramatta ended up getting the win, so they hold their slight finals chances alive.
Yeah, there you go. And they needed it too. They needed Bryce Cartwright to have a good... I don't know why he doesn't play more often in the starting 13, because he's a good player, so he can play 5'8", he's pretty versatile. Drop him in the centre if you needed to. You could play lock, he could play second row as well, so you get good bang for your buck with Bryce Cartwright. When he's playing well, and he looks like he's got his all his rubbish he had going on there for a while when he was at Penrith and the Gold Coast. He's got that sorted out, and now he's looking good again. The next game here, so the Raiders went about it again the way they like to do it. Had another ugly win, so they managed to be able to get dragged down to West Tigers level. West Tigers, I think, were all right, but the Raiders did just enough to get the win, 22 points to 18. That's all you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, didn't see much of this game. I was on home to Penrith with this game on, so the Raiders, obviously they held on just against the Tigers. You would have thought they would have convincingly beat the Tigers, but a crucial win for the Raiders at home in front of their home crowd, and to get that 2 points, especially with their for and against, not the best. So, as I said, I think on Friday night, all they'd be concentrating on is just getting those wins and getting those 2 points, just getting those wins. Don't worry about the for and against, just get those 2 points, and they just keep on keeping on. So they got that got this win today, and they stay in the finals race.
Yeah, there you go. So that they needed it. They needed that for everything to be able to get that done today. So we'll see how they go now. So the ladder looks like this at the moment. So Panthers are on top of the table on 36 points with the Broncos, but Panthers got a differential of 277, which is very, very good.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. Broncos have got a good one as well. They're on 169. They're a mile above anybody else, and the Warriors are in third on 32 points with 121. So their differentials are going to well and truly entrench them into the finals, regardless of what happens. So it's why I think they look like top four sides. Melbourne Storm, I thought they put in a decent performance against Penrith. They shut Penrith down the second half, really. They put in a semi-final style performance. If they hadn't have got off to a slow start, they may have got a different result against Penrith. But Penrith, it's hard to contain them at the start of a game. If you can, you might actually end up getting a result like West Tigers did. So Storm have got an 81-point differential, which is good. And the Sharks win. They were looking like sliding out to 8 here if they hadn't have beaten Souths, and now they've got themselves up in the 5th with a good points differential as well of 80 points. So they're on 28 there. The Raiders are in 6th on 28, but they've got a minus 78 differential. So I really do think now, more than anything else, that if the Raiders drop a game or two here, or not even two, if they drop a game here, this is going to hurt them very, very bad. That it's going to have massive problems for them. And although saying that, doesn't look like it's recorded the game against West Tigers here today, so they could be on 30 points now. We'll try to refresh this and have a look if I can get a better look at the ladder there. There you go. So now the Raiders, on 30. The differential still hurting them there. If they drop games, they've got problems. The Sharks are in 6th place on 28. The Knights on 7th now in 27, so they've got a good differential as well, 74. And the Rabbitohs on 8th on 80 points. Like, they've got all the firepower to turn it on, so they could do it at the drop of a hat. I still keep looking at the Sharks. I'm not convinced that the Sharks are going to get into the finals. At the moment, I can't say they're guaranteed. So in 9th place, got the Eels sitting now on 26 points with 65-point differential. The Cowboys are in 10th on 26 as well. So they're really the only other sides that can make the top 8 here. So Manly are on 25 and the Roosters are on 24. The Roosters have got a minus 100 differential. So they're going to have to smoke some teams bad, and I just can't see it. So, but to turn that around, they're going to have to be winning games by 40 points and that to get a decent enough differential that they're going to be able to be in the top 8 if they end up on points with someone else. So that's the only way they're going to make it. I think they're going to miss it anyway. So it's probably down to the Eels or Cowboys now, which one of them can get in and who's going to miss the ride here. At the moment, I'll have a look at games for next week. The games next week now, you've got Seagulls and Panthers, which is good for Penrith. We're going to probably get another win there. Sharks should be able to beat the Titans surely on Friday night. Be thinking that would be a lock for them. Broncos and Parramatta. So if the Eels lose to the Broncos up in Brisbane, that might be the end of the Eels season. So because it's going to get really hard to get better results from here on in. Rabbitohs should be able to smash St George, so on Saturday as well. West Tigers against Warriors. I would think the Warriors are going to get that one. The Roosters against the Dolphins. I hope the Dolphins can just pop the Roosters next weekend and finish it all there. Storm up against the Raiders. The Raiders will want to hope they can hang in here. I think they could beat the Storm, but in Melbourne, they'll want to make sure they don't cop another big score. If they cop a big score, they're going to have some huge issues. Knights up against the Bulldogs. The Knights should be able to get the job done against the Bulldogs. And the week after, then you got Cowboys and Sharks, so that's going to be a tough one. I really think one of them two is going to wipe the other one out of contention there, even though the Sharks are in and Cowboys out. That'll matter the week after. The Eels have got the Roosters. I think the Eels should be able to get the Roosters safely. Warriors should be able to beat the Seagulls. Tigers and Dolphins there. Dolphins should be able to win that. Titans and Panthers there. So Penrith should be able to go through the motions and get the win. They might start resting players, strangely enough, Penrith here. The Dragons against the Storm. So last time I seen the Dragons play the Storm, I'm pretty sure the Dragons gave the Storm a few problems. So last year and were up leading the game there too. So they might be able to do that again. And this could cause problems for the Storm in the back end of where they're going to finish in the comp, whether it's in the top 4 or whether it's in 5, 6, 7 or 8. The Knights are up against the Rabbitohs. So this will tell you how good Knights will go and if they're going to really make the top 8. If they can't beat the Rabbitohs, and they need to be able to do it because they're probably going to play them in one of the first couple of weeks of the finals, they might be over and done with before they really get in the finals. And the Raiders have got the Bulldogs, so won't keep on looking at every game after that. But surely that's what we're looking at the moment. So you would be thinking at the moment, looking at that yeah, that's probably how that's going to go, isn't it? So the only game could go either way, really. Storm and Raiders could go either way next week, and probably I wouldn't expect any other big shocks there. Yeah. So Broncos and Eels could beat the Broncos. We'll see how if they can bring it and turn it on. Other than that, I think there should be any other result against the head there. Like I hope the Dolphins will beat the Roosters, but the Roosters should probably get the job done. We'll see how that goes. That will have a bigger bearing on what's going to happen with the top 8. And if some of those things do happen, so if the Eels could beat the Roosters next week, then that will change things around depending on, let's have a look at the other game I said, the Storm and the Raiders. So, they've got to hope someone drops one of them games. So they'll be hoping Storm and Raiders are equal on points. The Raiders are the ones that I would be worried about at the moment. So out of sides in the top 8 because their differential's not good.
Yeah, for sure. Every game from now on is crucial for every club inside that top 8 or just outside that top 8. The Raiders, they have a pretty sort of reasonable record against the Storm down there in Melbourne, so that might be an interesting.
Yeah.
But any team outside that 8 is, or inside that top 8, every game next week is very crucial towards their final chances.
Yeah, so the Cowboys and Sharks game, not next week, the week after, that's one where I do think the Cowboys can and probably will beat the Sharks. So the Sharks need to make sure if they don't undo this week's good work by dropping a game next week, that would be bad for them because I would expect the Cowboys maybe can win their game the week after. So they look like they've got a bye this week coming up. So, and the week after, they'll be fresh playing Cronulla up in North Queensland on Thursday night. I would think they're probably going to get the points there unless Cronulla can pull something out of the bag. And if they do, they might finish off the season there for the Cowboys. So let's see how the Sharks go when they take on the Titans this Friday night. So the other things I want to chat about. So Jerome Luai. So the more I keep, the longer this goes, the less likely I think Jerome Luai is to stay at Penrith. I do think he's shopping for money at the moment, and I think he'll end up somewhere else. But the question is, where do you think he'll end up? So like everyone keeps saying the Bulldogs. Surely the Bulldogs can't sign another player. They've already got like a 5/8, don't they? And now they've got Toby Sexton. Why would you buy another 5/8? And where would Jerome Luai would have to play 5/8, so I can't see how you would fit him into that lineup. So I would think that someone
it's a very interesting one at the moment. I mean, I think Jerome Luai, he wants to stay at Penrith. I think Penrith want to keep him there, but they've got Dylan Edwards to sign at the moment. So can they sign him and Jerome Luai? Who knows? It just depends on Jerome, I think. If he wants to go for the money, then I think maybe the Tigers or Bulldogs or...
Yeah, St. George Illawarra. So
he wants to stay
would he fit into someone like Gold Coast or the Dolphins? So Isaiah Katoa's so that they would have to move players around if they sign him for the Dolphins. So I'm not sure it would be a great fit. But could he fit in at the Titans?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think they got Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd at the moment in the halves at the Titans, but that could be a fit for Jerome Luai. The Dolphins could be. I mean, they've got Sean O'Sullivan in a halfback. They've used a couple of 5/8s this year. They've used I think Cody Nikorima. They've used Anthony Milford, Isaiah Katoa there in a half. So maybe the Dolphins might be a move there for Jerome, but it all just depends whether he wants to go for money or he wants to go for winning competitions. So he's already won a couple of competitions. He's played for his state. He's played for his country, Samoa. So it just depends on Jerome, I guess.
Yeah, so the other one I heard, so this one's going to blow you out of the water. So it's out the pipeline, this one. So from inside, I won't say inside mail, so on the grapevine mail. So the Roosters are interested in him as well, and I think they've got room to move. So with Suoli'i moving on, they're very happy to maybe let him go at the end of this year to rugby because, well, that will free up money straight away. They don't need to pay him out. I think he might be happy to go. Rugby Australia are happy to pick up for the baggage there as well, and he's got the opportunity to play in the World Cup next year if he went to rugby now. So Rugby Australia's chucked these big things on their lap. I think they're trying to wait and see now, the Roosters, how this goes. I think they might be showing him the door effectively, say, if you want to go, mate, go with your blessing. You can come back in the future. They don't want to close the door on him. But if they do that, it's going to let them solve their halves problem, which I think they've got. I'm not sure they're settled on Sam Walker, and I think Luke Keary, they're concerned about his longevity in the game with his concussion problems as well, like what Kalen Ponga's having. So it's kind of a bit of a logical fit there, and they need to get a good player for a rebuild. Be a pretty good player to pick up. You got Jerome Luai, and he's going into a decent side, so it makes a bit more sense when you're looking at it than like perhaps just being a completely out there one down the pipeline.
That is an interesting scenario if Jerome goes to the Roosters. I mean, they've got Standard Smith there who's been playing a bit of footy lately with Sam Walker out injured. I think maybe Sam Walker might be the long-term solution for halfback, but yeah, the Roosters, I mean, that's out of the ballpark, I think. I haven't heard of that one. So if he does go to the Roosters, well, they're in the competition to win premierships. So he is a premiership player, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes there.
So, yeah, that's what I think. That's when I heard that the other day going, here's one for you, Duckman. This one's out of the pipeline. It's a bit hard to believe. Well, it's not that hard to believe when you start to strip it apart a little bit and have a look at it. Well, Suoli'i moves on. All of a sudden, some of their money becomes a bit better. They've got a bit of money to work with. Different scenery, different landscape, different third-party deals, some good third-party deals, I suppose. So he just dropped a couple, Jerome, so that might be a new fit for him. It might look like a good opportunity. So I'm going to put it out there. If he moves somewhere now, I think the Roosters are going to be where he goes. If not, they'll be Gold Coast Titans or the Dolphins.
Yeah, well, as I said, if he wants to win premierships, then the Roosters will be the way to go. If he wants to go for money, well, then the Dolphins or the Titans will be the way to go for sure, because he's already won a couple of premierships. So who knows? We'll just have to watch his space. But I think the Panthers, they'll want to probably try and get that done, sorted probably earlier than later. They'll want to try and get that sorted before the finals start, just so there's no disruption to their finals campaign, and they'll try and get this done earlier rather than later.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so what do you got coming up in the Paracade podcast this week, Troy?
I'll have a replay of this chat tomorrow, and also I'll have a tipping podcast as well for round 24. As I said, it's getting down to the business end of the season, and hopefully having a special guest on Thursday. I don't know who that is yet, but hopefully having a special guest, and then hopefully having a game day preview for the Brisbane Broncos game. I'll have hopefully a fan from the Brisbane Broncos give me a game day preview for that one. So I might be live next week from the Gabba next week, where the Parramatta take on the Eels, with Brisbane take on the Eels at the Gabba due to the Women's World Cup, and we might have a quick chat from there, so that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, what day is that game on next week?
Next week, Friday, 8 p.m. At the Gabba. As I said, due to the Women's World Cup So they've taken over the Suncorp Stadium. So the Broncos have moved this game to the Gabba. So it'll be the first time I've been to the Gabba for a sporting event. I've been there when there's nothing on there, but this will be the first time I've been there for a sporting event. So that'll be interesting. A rugby league game on a round field. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? I reckon just as a G-up, they shouldn't move the lines either. Just leave it marked up like the AFL. So, and then they've just got to work out where the try lines are and put them all crooked, make them go different lengths. Just to mix it up, why not do that? That'll be interesting as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll be coming from Brisbane next week.
Yeah, all right. Excellent. I'm looking forward to that. All right, Troy, have a fantastic week, and I will chat to you again on Friday night. I look forward to it, and I will catch you then.
No worries. Thank you very much, Duckman. Thanks for having me, and look forward to the chat next Friday.
Absolutely will too. All right. Have a great week, Troy.
Thanks, mate.
And welcome back to the podcast, and thank you very much for listening to the Duckman and I's round review 2023 NRL season, round 23, bit confusing there. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Now stay tuned during the week for some more podcasts coming out. There will be a tipping podcast come out. There will also be, hopefully, a game day preview podcast come out with the Eels v Broncos. I will find a Brisbane Broncos supporter and we can chat about that game, get their aspect of it, because it's always good talking to the fans about the game. That's coming up for the Eels. So this week it is the Eels versus the Broncos up there at the Gabba. And also there will be hopefully a interview style podcast as well. But in the meantime, we still have episode 207 with Feletti Matteo out. So if you haven't already, have a listen to that chat. A great chat with a former Parramatta Eels, New Zealand Warriors and Manly Sea Eagles player. Also played over in England as well and represented the All-Stars and Tonga as well. So a great chat there about his career, and he's doing some great stuff there at the West Tigers now with the pathways with well-being and culture over there at the West Tigers and the young players there. So he's doing some great stuff there. So tune into that episode. He also rates the New Zealand Warriors' chances this year, as he did play with a few of those players there, namely Sean Johnson from the Warriors, who's having a wow of a season this year in 2023. So he chats about that, and he also chats about the Parramatta Eels and Melbourne Storm, the celebrations they had as well. So very interesting chat there. So tune into that one if you haven't already. If you have, please leave a rating and review on the podcast platform that you listen to, and let me know what your favourite part was. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this episode, and stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.